Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Legislative Committee meeting of the Middletown Common Council to order. It's November 1st, 2022 at 7:15 p.m. I'll start by calling the roll. Alderman Massey.
Present.
Alderman Green.
Here.
Alderman Tobin.
Here.
Alderwoman Ramkasoon.
Here.
5 are present. We're ready to do work. There are 2 items on the agenda. I think the mayor and council are going to be our Sherpas this evening. How about if we start off with the resolution regarding public safety, Your Honor?
Okay, we're joined here by Kevin Gomez from the Middletown School District, who was part of the, or I guess the lead person on the fair funding resolution. And when the presentation was made to the Common Council, I had mentioned that to Mr. Gomez that we've been very supportive of the fair funding litigation, but also there's a second part of that, or a part of that, I believe, that regarding the security in the schools and the ability to remove the security issue from the budget vote, from the overall budget vote, and have a separate vote. So we wanted to, at least I wanted to have the city support the school's efforts on the fair funding, but also to emphasize what we've been fighting for going back to when Dr. Easterwood was superintendent and wasn't seeking our support. But the fact that when you have school resource officers, that is a long-term commitment by the city of Middletown, that we have to train. We have to hire, train, and put on additional officers. And of course, for the time that they spend doing school resource work, we are reimbursed. But to rely on an annual appropriation from or an annual budget vote could eventually jeopardize the program, because if the budget goes down and you go to a contingency budget, then the school resource officers will not be funded, I believe, under the current situation. So for many years, been advocating that we do one of a few things, but one is to allow a school district to remove the security from the budget and either have a separate vote or not have any vote at all, because I think school security is a major concern that should not be held up at a budget time. So we have drafted, I believe, is it one resolution or 2 resolutions tonight? One resolution. And it's something that I support. I don't know if Mr. Gomez would like to speak on it, but I wanted to accomplish 2 things. 1, support the district on their fair funding, and 2, also maintain the push for maintaining some semblance of balance going forward, where there's a commitment from local districts when we make the commitment of having school resource officers. Right now, I believe we may have 5, I think it might be, in the district, 5 or 6. Yeah, because we added a second one at the high school. So just imagine if next year the budget vote goes down, not only the most important part would be, of course, the security issue at the schools, but then you have the financial impact on the community of having 6 additional officers on our payroll, and that would shift that burden from the school district taxpayer, which is 50% of the city of Middletown and 50% outside the city, to 100% to the city of Middletown. And I think that would be unfair and unrealistic to govern or to provide school security in that way. So these are somewhat symbolic resolutions, but and I'm not really that big on those types of things, but I think it's important that we send a message that we support the district in their efforts on fair funding, and we also support the security issue.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I invite Mr. Gomez to briefly speak, if you could, Clerk, could you read this resolution into the record, please?
Good evening. Resolution in support of the enlarged city school district of Middletown's resolution requesting New York State to adopt an annual independent budget line for use by the school district for public safety expenditures. Whereas the enlarged city school district of Middletown unanimously adopted a resolution on September 15th, 2022, requesting that the state of New York legislature adopt an annual independent budget line earmarked for use by school districts for public safety expenditures and initiatives as presented. And whereas the city of Middletown's Common Council has reviewed said resolution and believes such action on the part of the state legislature is necessary to ensure a comprehensive and universal safety measures across all schools to ensure student safety. Now therefore be it resolved, the city of Middletown supports the school district's request to the state to adopt an annual independent budget line for use by the school district for public safety expenditures.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gomez, you're welcome to join.
Thank you so much, and good evening to everyone. I want to thank the mayor and distinguished members of the Common Council for their support of our resolution. I think this is what partnership is all about, the fact that our Common Council is working in partnership with our school district for the safety of our children. And I think the message we want to send to Albany is that when it comes to our student safety, when it comes to public safety, we shouldn't be reactionary. We shouldn't have to wait for some tragedy to occur. We need to be preventive. And by having an independent budget line that's consistent there, irrespective of who's in charge in Albany, I think sends a positive message and will give our districts the necessary resources as well as allow the continued partnership with our municipal governments that operate within our district to ensure that our students or our children are always safe, along with all those that serve in our school district. So again, I thank our mayor, who's always been a lifetime supporter of the safety and the needs of our students, and as well as our council and indispensable partners for the good of our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we need to move this on to the council, but in the spirit of Committee of the Whole, I'll go around the table for brief comments if we have any, starting with Mr. Kleiner.
Just in favor of it, thank you.
That's very brief, thank you. Mr. Green,
Favor as well.
Mr. Witt, Mr. Massey,
I'm in favor.
President Rodriguez, Mr. Tobin, Jean-Francois, Ram Kasoon. Okay, all members of the committee that vote to move this to the Common Council, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, we'll move it on in a timely manner. Thank you. Second item is a code change. Who's going to run this, the council or the mayor?
Talking about Sprague Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we have an opportunity for a building that has been vacant for many, many years on the corner of Sterling and Sprague. It's a C2 zone. C2 zone is scattered throughout the city and in many different types of uses and property uses on them. So this property happens to have adequate parking, off-street parking, whereas some of the C2 zones don't have off-street parking. So different uses could fit in. We met with a commercial cleaning company, LCS Facility Group. They also have offices throughout the Mid-Hudson, and they're interested in purchasing the property. It doesn't exactly fit the C2 use in regards to the current permitted or planning board approved uses. So we're proposing that, and we have done this in one other section of the city, where we, rather than change the zoning, which across the street is industrial, and rather than change it to an industrial use, which would be going too far, that we would modify the C2 zone from on Sprague Avenue from Sterling to Janung, because that seems to be the one side of this, especially the one side where the these types of uses might fit into place. So we drafted a resolution restricting it, so it won't be a change in C2 citywide. It would just be in that small section of the city for C2. And it is to accommodate this business. It is to accommodate what I think is the best impact use of this building, because under C2, this building could become a lot more things that would have a negative effect on that neighborhood than a commercial cleaning operation. The cleaning is not done there. It's not it's just an office basically with their vehicle storage. The planning board would judge what they want for barriers and around the property to fencing or whatever they want. But it's in order to get this building occupied and to move the process along. And I think the restrictions that the Corporation Council put into the draft resolution are more than sufficient. I think, in fact, I think it's going to be an addition to the neighborhood rather than looking at a blighted property or a potential, I think under the C2 zone, you could do a bar there. And there used to be a bar across the street from there. So I don't think, I think people would rather have a low-impact use such as the commercial cleaning operation. And as I said, it's not cleaning on site. It's not bringing heavy-duty stuff in and washing it there. This is a business that outsources. They go to businesses and do commercial cleaning. And their vans will be parked there. But the planning board will have all those restrictions that would protect the neighborhood. But I think it's a good use, and they did request a zoning change to comply with zoning, and we could very easily make it contiguous to the zoning across the street, but I don't believe we should do that. I believe we should not cross the line of Sprague Avenue with an industrial zone. So that's my pitch. Been going back and forth for a couple months. The company, I have checked with the mayor up in Poughkeepsie. It's a very reputable company. They have a long-standing relationship with the city of Poughkeepsie, and it's the recommendation that we consider doing that just on this section of C2 between Sprague and Genung.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it your feeling this is time sensitive?
Well, as sensitive as can be. We've been going back and forth with them for 2 or 3 months, including their attorneys that, felt more comfortable with a zone change. And so I think time is of the essence. So to get the ball rolling as quickly as possible, I think there has to be a public hearing called for, correct? And so I think, we'll have a public hearing. So I'm not saying skip the public hearing. We want to have a public hearing so we can explain to neighbors there that, we're not, first of all, we're not taking a residential property and making it commercial. This has been a long-time commercial piece of property. And on that section of Sterling Street is the part that floods also quite a bit. So you're not going to see some type of residential development here. This is always going to be commercial, and I think the lowest impact use that would benefit that neighborhood there would be this type of use. So moving as quickly as possible would make sense because I don't think we want to lose the sale.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'll forego the reading of the resolution, but I'll still do committee of the whole around the table. Ms. Ramkissoon?
That's fine.
Jean-Francois? Mr. Tobin?
So the only real change is that we're adding commercial cleaning services to the C2, right? That's it? And then the restrictions on top of that?
Yes, yeah, the restrictions that go on by the planning board, and some of those restrictions might be fencing.
Okay.
There's a rear property that, there's a double lot in the back. One of the suggestions that I made to the property owner would be not storing equipment outside. In other words, if you, and I don't know what type of machines they use, but everything would have to be stored in the trailer. So you can't leave it out in a yard, make it look like a construction yard.
Right.
They would have to be stored in a trailer. But the planning board can do all that, and we certainly will make those recommendations to the planning board that they review that. Paving. Landscaping that buffers between the Sterling Street or the rear of the property going down Sterling Street. What buffers, the appropriate buffers that the planning board can put in. Can't do that in the zoning, but the planning board certainly can do it, and that's what we're recommending. And the purchaser understands that going in, so they won't be surprised if the planning board puts requirements on them to have a buffer zone, trees or bushes or whatever to protect some of the neighbors.
Thank you. I support it. Sounds good.
Okay.
President Rodriguez? Mr. Massey? Mr. Wood?
Very quick question.
Sure.
Is this the play, was trying to look it up on this thing. Is this it was like a Hershey?
No, this is the old refrigeration, tri-state refrigeration. It's right on the corner there. It's a garage. It looks like garages.
Okay,
And it has a small office in it. And it does have quite a bit of property with it, though.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mayor,
Green.
Mayor, before you sit down. So is this going to allow it in C2 anywhere?
No, just in that section of C2 Sprague to Genung.
Is there a reason we wouldn't just add it to C2?
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
because C2, it's kind of weird throughout the city. when we looked at it, some parts of C2 have property with it, but then other parts are like in, like a downtown setting almost, some commercial, some residential neighborhoods that have C2, but they don't have adequate land. This has the adequate land for what they're proposing to do. You don't want, and I'll give you a perfect example, was the ProWorks, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah.
It was a business that located on North Street, construction outfit. They had like 5 or 6 vans. They were parking all day long on the James Street lot,
Right.
taking up parking over the weekend and stuff like that. And it's just not fit for that. It had to be, if you're going to have that large of a fleet, you have to have adequate storage. So we wouldn't want to encourage that kind of business in most of the C2 districts.
Okay, thank you. All good.
Mr. Kleiner?
I'm familiar with the property, and the mayor's correct. It's been a long time trying to find a business that would fit there. And I think the resolution has really answered all my questions. It says off-site commercial cleaning services, so the actual cleaning and that industrial part wouldn't be done on-site, and the large equipment being stored inside a structure. So, I mean, the planning board's pretty good at considering those things. And my other concern would be that the neighbors at least be aware of it and have a say, and if we're going to have a public hearing, that takes care of that. So
Thank you.
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, straw vote? Pardon? Straw vote, do the members of the committee feel comfortable moving this on to the council in the public hearing in the process?
I do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All righty then, we'll move on as directed, and I need a motion to close the committee meeting.
So moved.
Thank you and thank you. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Any opposed or abstain?